Hi everyone, it's Elizabeth Stevenson with New Direction Family Law, where we believe with change comes empowerment. And part of how we do that, in addition to providing expert legal advice, is to surround our clients with professionals like Don Moyer and Jenny Casagrande, I apologize. And they are here and they're part of our workshop that we're going to be doing throughout next year and this year's, which is For a Better Life, which focuses on health, wealth, wisdom, and love. And part of what you guys are going to help us with is the wealth part. And a lot of times when clients come to me, they've been out of the workforce, they've been a stay-at-home mom, many of you may be, and at some point you're going to have to go back to work. As we were talking about before we started, two households cannot live as one. And so you may have been traditionally a stay-at-home mom, been out of the workforce for a while, and so Dawn and Jenny help folks get back in the workforce, bring them up to date, and help them move forward in that respect. So tell us a little bit about yourselves, and then we'll talk about your company and how you can help.
Sure. So I'm Dawn O'Haver Moyer, and I am what you would call a marketer true and true. So we started in marketing, and that's for our career. But with that, I really focused on women's development throughout my corporate life. And so when we transitioned into this role, it was really important for me to figure out how we could continue to help women move forward.
Right.
And so we do a lot of that, whether it's in their current career or in this situation where people are either separated or divorced and looking for that next piece. For us, it's still all about marketing.
Right.
And that's what's really important for us.
Right.
So our goal is to apply those marketing principles to individuals.
Okay.
And a lot of folks would call that branding.
Mm-hmm.
We don't always call it branding because that makes people uncomfortable.
Right.
But our approach is to say that each individual has strengths and you need to learn how to communicate them in a way that makes you unique.
Well, you know, especially for women, it's hard to go out and talk about yourself and say, look at me, here are my attributes, here are my positives. So what are some of the first steps when someone comes to you?
Mm-hmm.
What do you do if they've been out for a while? What are some of the first things that you ask them to sort of focus on and look at and review?
Some of it is a little bit of self-awareness.
Right.
So in order to develop your own personal brand or find ways to market yourself in this new job search is really to understand who you are
Right.
and what you're about. And so the first thing we do is we have them do a strengths assessment to really understand, and there's a lot of free tools online that you can do that, or you can ask your best friend. I'm sure they're going to tell you lots of things that are really good about you, and maybe some areas you want to stay away from as well. But for us, the heart and soul is understanding really where you want to go. So the first two things we have them do is the strength finders, and then we help them develop what we call as their motivational force, what gets them up in the morning, what gets them excited, so that as they're moving forward into something that's really going to project them into the next stage.
That's great. And a lot of times you think, well, I'm just a stay-at-home mom, but then you think about what a stay-at-home mom does.
Absolutely.
They're great multitaskers, you know, they coordinate, they administrate, they do all that. So do you guys sort of help them reframe that and look at that in that way?
Absolutely. Multitasking, problem solving, all that kind of surround sound look at their lives. We find repeatedly that women do kind of get bogged down in that. I've been out of work or my career stopped and started, and they get very bogged down in literal skills. Well, I don't have X skill, Y skill. That's why we really kind of focus on the motivational force, strengths, values, because those are the ways you can communicate to employers that don't necessarily always have to detail what you've done in the work world in the last 5 years. They translate well.
And I would add to that, a lot of times there's skill sets that aren't being communicated. For example, they might have led a huge fundraiser for their child's school, and it never shows up anywhere on their resume. And that's a huge skill. So it's teaching them how to understand what behaviors employers are looking for and then how their skill sets align to that so that they can really communicate it in a way that employers can hear it.
Right. And you know, things have changed at like warp speed now. And so if I'm someone who's been out of the workforce 5 or 10 years, you know, I typed up my resume and I went and took it, or I picked up the phone and called. I'm assuming you don't do that anymore. I don't know. So how best way do you get to employers or find out what's out there?
Yep. So, you know, a lot of what we talk about is it's very much a changing world. internet presence, social media presence, and especially professional social media presence like LinkedIn is more and more important. Employers are literally Googling to find people. So getting everybody kind of up to speed on making that brand presence out in the world is fundamental to kind of moving ahead.
Right.
And the other thing for them to really consider is we talk about networking, or as we like to call it, building your professional community. Most jobs, as a matter of fact, 40 to 60% of jobs are found outside the application process. They are found through networking and asking people. And you have to be able to tell them what you're looking for in order for that to work. And then the second piece to that is 20% of jobs are never even advertised.
That's right.
So you could maybe even create your own job that you're looking for.
Right.
That's not even been advertised.
Right, and it made me think of something when you said, prospective employers Google you. What if I've got something out there? I mean, are there ways you can't maybe clean it up because it's out there forever, but is that something that you may be able to help somebody with that makes it something that regret now?
So we do start with clean it up wherever you can, right? And make your social media presence as professional as it can be. But absolutely, sometimes you've done that thing, you really want to talk about it. Now you wish you hadn't.
Right.
That's very common. That is really why we reinforce the branding aspect of it, because once you get comfortable talking about yourself and the few key things that you bring forward, you start to put that everywhere, like a LinkedIn, like social media. And that's searchable. Next thing you know, that trumps all the other stuff on the list.
That's right. So talk about branding, and that I think about advertising and that sort of thing. But you're really talking about branding yourself, so that as you say, as you look across, that that's the what people see and think about when they think about you. So how do you do that? I know that's a big, broad question.
It is, and we joke around about this a lot because the number one thing we hear is, I'm not a salesperson, and this sounds like I have to sell myself, and it feels kind of used car salesman, no offense to used car salesman, but it's that uncomfortable moment, and we talk about it frequently because we're two very different people. And we brand ourselves very differently, and we have very different levels of comfort. This is about finding the comfort level for you, right? So Dawn may come up with a brand statement that's very out there, or very storytelling. I may come up with one that's more about history or whatever.
Right.
But it's true to us.
Yeah. And I think, too, when you think about branding, you're right. It is everything about you. It's how you show up, how you interact, what you look like, the way you're communicating, your skill sets. And we tell people it's going to show up everywhere for you. Appropriate places would be cover letters, top of resume. One key tip we give is the objective statement is one of those things that's really kind of outdated. And now you should be giving kind of your professional summary, which is your branding statement. Who you are. If you think about an objective statement, that's all about what you want. I want a job that does X, Y, Z, versus a professional summary gives a nice outline of what I can do for you and how I can help you as an employer. It will show up in things like your LinkedIn profile, but in person-to-person conversations, one of the things we train in the workshops is how do you work that in, to Jenny's point, in a way that's really comfortable for you. And there's ways to do that in the introduction, to tie back what you can do to the person's needs, and even in the thank you, which is often very missed.
Yes, I agree with that. So tell me a little bit about your workshop series and sort of what happens, how long it is, what you cover, those sorts of things.
In this particular one, I think it's about an hour and a half, and we will really walk them through helping them understand top level, their strengths, and then how do we apply that into what you would call an elevator pitch. So we're really getting them to that quick 30-second, what can I say in a comfortable way about myself that will resonate with an employer in the way they need to hear it. And so really, if they can come out of that piece and then also understanding what are transferable skills and how to identify them and match them back up to the employer.
So that's what you're doing in our workshop for a Better Life. So tell me if I came to you, I've been out of the workforce for 10 years, and I come to you two, what is it that I can expect, or what do you need from me, and what are you going to help me with when I work with you on a one-on-one level?
That's great. Yes, so we have a couple of different offerings. We have a book, which we've had out since 2014, Keys to Working Leadership Job. Very Vanna appropriate. And so, if you kind of want that quick, immediate, I just want to sit down now and start it, we highly recommend the book. We we offer online coursework.
Okay.
And that's a 5-step program that folks can go through if they want to kind of learn in the privacy of their home and just kind of sit back and say, I'm not ready for the outside world and a lot of engagement yet,
Right.
but I kind of want to sit in my spare time and go through a longer version of the same process Dawn just described.
Okay.
And then as a third step, if you're really ready to get out there, you're already comfortable, like this session we're going to be having live and in a group, and
Right.
you want that group interaction, we have a multi-step program where a group of women can get together, go through this process together, every step of the way, and have check-ins.
Oh, that's right. So do you find that group process is helpful, that they're supportive sort of one another, and they're sort of starting in the same place in their way?
Absolutely. I think there are times when you need the support of other people in the same place that you are,
Exactly, yes,
who can
definitely.
kind of say, yes, that happened to
been
me,
there, yeah,
I've been to me, what do I
understand.
do? So it's very comfortable for that, and you kind of get to follow each other, sort of in a family community atmosphere, and say, where did everybody land? Okay, what's working, what's
Right,
not working?
right.
So that's been
And that's to
good.
push each other a little bit too,
Mhm.
which is nice.
So, part of the group, do you work with individuals, or is it just in the group process also?
We also do one-on-one in this realm of coaching or mentoring, and this is a place where maybe they've absorbed the information, but they just can't quite put it all together, and they need somebody to really put it in a frame for them and help it come together. We can do that, and we can certainly help with resumes and LinkedIn profiles and those kind of things as well on a one-on-one basis.
So we talked about the book a little bit, the keys to marketing you to get the job. Tell me a little bit about this. Is it a workbook where you can sit down at your own pace and sort of do what you talked about? Here are my strengths. Here's what motivates me and gets me out in the morning and sort of pushes you to moving forward in that way.
That's a great question. What we found when we started really working with career development, that it was really a lot of buzz out there until you go network or brand yourself. But what we found was there were a lot of really great inspirational stories of how people have done that and how it worked for them, but there weren't a lot of really concrete formulas. And so what we did was take, just as if we were marketing a product, and put it in a formula so that people could take off, to your point, like a workbook, and really take pieces of it and chunks of it in a very systematic way that really kind of, one, took the mystery out of it,
Yes.
but two, for those of us that it's not intuitive, really lays it out for you in a nice way. That
That's great.
from start to finish, by the time you finish the book, you are ready to go.
Oh, awesome. And so how do they get this? Just online? How do
It
they get a copy of this book?
It's available Amazon, Barnes and Noble, it's available across the board.
Okay.
So.
And is there a way to do it online? You know, some people don't like books or don't
Some
want
people
to.
don't like books, yes, we do have it available, it's available Kindle, download,
Oh,
e-reader. We've found that people, since you can write in it, people like mostly to have the hard copy,
Copy.
but it is
I think it's
available.
more like a workbook.
Right, sort of like a workbook. So, we were talking, also before we started this, is I have a lot of women nowadays who want to stay home, you know, and I understand that because they've got small children, but they've got to have some sort of income. So it's all about now staying at home, you know, direct sales really through Facebook and marketing and that kind of thing. What do you guys feel about that as a way to sort of tiptoe back in? Is that a good thing? Is it a bad thing to do?
Yeah, so we do see a lot of it, and as a matter of fact, we were talking earlier today about there's a lot of noise out there around. There's a lot of advertising for stay-at-home programs, and some of them work and some of them don't. Some of them are above board and some of them aren't.
Right.
I think we usually say if it's too good to be true, it may be.
Probably is.
It probably is.
Yeah, it probably is. But there is certainly a lot of value out there in job opportunities that allow you to stay at home, work remotely, or do those kinds of things. So there's opportunity.
Yeah, and I would add to that, there's a lot more opportunity I think there used to be as far as flexible work hours and flexible. So I wouldn't give up on those traditional corporations, because I think maybe the last time the person looked for the job, even 5 years ago, some of those companies
That's
didn't
true.
have the flexible work plans in place.
Right.
And now, particularly with technology and being able to interact across the nation via web, you're seeing more and more of that flexibility in jobs that were traditionally not flexible. So I would, to Jenny's point, not get too caught up in the fast sale, but look for companies who offer those very work-friendly environments. Yeah.
And then technology has certainly changed in the last 5 or 10 years. So are there certain things that you would say to people that you need to go and
whether it's going to community college or doing some courses online and that sort of thing. Is that a good thing to do? Should they be sort of looking in that direction?
Absolutely. If they're in a spot where they don't feel comfortable with the internet and the basics of the internet, sometimes we teach courses and we'll talk about LinkedIn, and we have a couple of women raise their hand and say, I've never heard of it, don't know.
Right.
Those are the kinds of things you can absolutely, all the local community colleges offer courses that'll help you set up LinkedIn pages, and those kinds of things. So there are great ways to do the basics. Google, Word, you know,
Yeah,
all
just the
those
basics
basic
for
office
Excel,
stuff.
the whole thing, yeah.
Anything, Outlook, if you're just not been a big emailer through a system, they all offer it, and they can get you up to speed really fast.
And I would add to that too, if you're in a very technical field where there have been some changes, and you haven't done work in that field in a while, there's a lot of, I would say, opportunities within nonprofits and organizations
That's a
that
great
you may
idea.
be even already involved
Involved in.
with, that you can go back and say, hey, I'm willing to do this pro bono for you if you'll allow me to kind of work through this process and get the skill. That way, when you go to the interview, you have some fresh ideas and some fresh portfolios.
That is a really, really
Wow.
great suggestion, I'll say. Is there, is it expensive to get back in the workforce? Because if you're talking about branding, you know, we're
Yeah.
talking about, oh, you know, I have my yoga pants and my sweatshirt, so, you know, so
Yeah.
I need to get a professional wardrobe and get my resume done. I mean, I guess those are things that you really sort of don't think about, but just, you kind of do need
Yeah.
to think about in a way
Mhm.
for that. So, and you help with resumes
We
and
do.
writing and all of that
We
sort of
do,
thing.
but we encourage people to really kind of own as much of that as possible. For what we do is we will help them kind of fine tune it and rework it. You know, our services that will write it from scratch for
Right.
you. But what we find is the better you know your own skills and resources and your own resume, the better you are to articulate it versus someone else who wrote it for you.
Right.
So we always encourage people to be very involved in that process.
I think that's part of why we're so excited about the program you're running this year, is because it's a lot of pieces, and it can feel like an overwhelming number of pieces. But if you kind of take them one at a time and think about it, they don't necessarily involve a huge amount of expense.
Right.
They involve more time and thought and
Thought,
perspective on, you know, what do I appear like, how do I sound, and what image do I want to put out,
Right.
than it does necessarily, I need thousands of dollars to do a makeover.
Right,
you know.
exactly. So do you guys role play? Is that part of the group process and doing, you know, interviews and thinking about questions that I might be asked and that sort of thing?
We have, yeah, we actually have a couple of one-on-one clients that, they kind of keep us on retainer and say, I'm ready for an interview,
Mm-hmm.
you know, let's have at it, and,
Let's role play.
let's role play it out and kind of go through all the possibilities, and we have done some of that in groups as well.
That's great. So do you guys have clients who come to you, or do they have issues about being separated and divorced and that sort of thing that sort of play into how willing and how ready they are to go? Because that's a very emotional
It is
process.
very emotional, and our number one question for you, because we hit at a very specific time, right? So they've acknowledged they need to get a job and that it's time, or to return to a role. But we do have clients that come in and say, I'm not ready and I'm not sure I need a job. I'm kind of waiting for my alimony to roll in, I'm waiting for my process to go through. I'm not sure I need this yet.
Right.
What's advice do you give to clients in that?
Well, you know, sort of, as we say, it depends. That's what we say in the legal field. But some attorneys will say, don't go get a job, don't do this and that. I always encourage folks to, because sooner or later, they're going to be in the workforce. Even if you have small children and you've been a stay-at-home mom, at some point, that alimony, even though it's called permanent alimony, is never permanent.
It's not permanent.
It's not permanent. And you may be sort of basing, you know, we've separated, I get alimony, I've got child support, and I bought a house based on that income.
Yeah.
And then, lo and behold, 2 years later, my alimony ends, and so I've got to replace that income. So I'd rather them start now than wait 2 years to go and get behind the 8 ball. Let's get in front of it, and let's, if nothing else, just coming to you guys can build their self-esteem, I think, in a way, even if they're not ready to enter the job market, you know, and that can make them a better parent, a better co-parent, you know, just a better all-around how to get through life in the day through this experience of separation and divorce.
We find a lot of times they have hidden strengths they haven't even called upon, right? And if we can help them identify those, to your point, and get inspired around those, then that will help them, I think, as they're going through that job hunt process.
Right, and I like what you said about, and a lot of stay-at-home moms are involved, they're either involved in school or in the church, or they've got a nonprofit that they're working with. that's valuable skills and work skills, even if they're not being paid,
Absolutely.
that I think can translate 2 years down the road into something
Absolutely.
that you can do something with.
Yes,
right?
and absolutely to your point, even if you don't need the job tomorrow,
Right,
I think as individuals, you need to understand you've got that strength in you, you have those abilities in you. It may give you a slightly different perspective on your divorce and separation.
Right,
You know,
right.
so, let alone what future career comes your
Exactly,
way. So.
exactly. So your workshop is November 4th,
Yeah.
way in the future we think, but it'll be right
Yeah,
here
it'll be
before we
here
know it.
Yes, it will.
And it's an hour-and-a-half workshop. You can go to our website at newdirectionfamilylaw.com and click on For a Better Life and register there. It'll take you to you guys' website so you can find out more about what you folks do.
Yeah.
And we're also, during your workshop, we're going to be giving away a copy of your book. But I certainly encourage you to go online, go to Amazon, Barnes & Noble, go to your website, pick up this book if you're in the market for getting back in the market. And it's a first step, and it's something you can do at your own pace, right? In your own time, in the privacy of your own home. And I just like the way that you guys come at it of finding that, it's not really about finding a job per se, but it's about finding the inner and better and stronger you, right? So thank you guys for joining us, and we'll see you next time. And please join us for our For a Better Life series. Go to our website and sign up for the workshops. So we'd love to see you there. Thanks.